Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be testing out a newly built Pokemon that I just built for the Open Ultra League, and that is my newly powered up Rank 2 XL LOKIX. LOKIX is a Bug and Dark type Pokemon with a moveset of Sucker Punch, X-Scissor, and Trailblaze, so I do think its coverage is genuinely very interesting for the Open Ultra League. Now this is an anti-meta Pokemon, and I'm going to be pairing it up with another anti-meta pick, XL Unova Stunfisk, and as the safe switch, Walrein. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's test out this LOKIX. Hopping into the first match, we've got a Nightmare lead, Stunfisk into Giratina. Even though this is a bad lead, I actually have an interesting way of playing this. I'm going to farm up 100 energy, and then pivot out into Walrein. Opponent now going to respond with Belly Bolt. So far, things not off to a good start, but I'm expecting that the energy that I farmed up on the Stunfisk will be more valuable against my opponent's other Pokemon. Here, they did unfortunately get a defense boost from the Parabolic Charge, which means that the Icicle Spear is not going to do much of any damage. I make the Earthquake, but I am going to lose the CMP tie, and Parabolic Charge number 2 is going to connect. Now I can send back in the Stunfisk, and the energy that I stored from earlier will come in handy here, as unfortunately I can't one-shot, but I will be able to two-shot the boosted Belly Bolt and just remove it from the field of play. My opponent stored a bunch of energy on the Giratina. I'd rather them throw it here than on the LOKIX. So they get to fire off the Dragon Claw, and now it is LOKIX time. In the back is Feraligatr, and this is LOKIX's moment to shine. Sucker Punch would hit for super effective damage on the Giratina, so they pivoted out into the Feraligatr. But guess what, Feraligatr? You lose the 2 shield to LOKIX. I get to boost up with the Trailblaze, and now LOKIX gets to inflict some serious damage. LOKIX is going to commit to the full farm down and get it. That is a nasty farm down by LOKIX. And now it leaves boosted against the Giratina. Trailblaze not going to do a ton of damage here as it is resisted, but I just get to keep ramping up the Sucker Punches. Now this is a +2 boosted X-Scissor. They're forced to shield. They're forced to throw energy because they cannot afford to keep taking these Sucker Punches. And with the residual energy that I have on the Stunfisk from earlier in the match, I'm actually going to win this game. So a very weird play pattern of staying in a very negative lead, but it's a negative lead that can't really damage me. So I bank 100 energy, and that energy ends up being very valuable throughout the game, and this game will end in victory. Picking up a positive lead in the next match, leading Stunfisk into Shadow Drapion. Now, it goes without saying, this is more of a team for fun than for climbing. As you may notice, we're very ABA Week 2 Virizion. Here, my opponent makes a Soul Read catch. Oh my goodness. They are core broken by the Stunfisk, but catching a Mud Bomb on a Drifblim, that is definitely going to help. I farm up just shy of the back-to-back discharges, but that was a savage catch by my opponent. Discharge is shielded, but Stunfisk is putting in so much work. Another discharge. They're not going to give up the second shield, and I'm going to go for a little bit of insult to injury here with a devastating Icy Wind catch onto Walrein. Switch clock is up, back in comes the Shadow Drapion. Drapion is going to look to connect with a Crunch, and that will inflict some serious damage. I'm up a shield, there's no point in baiting, I'm already debuffed, so I'm going to full send the Earthquake. Opponent is going to be shielding up the Drapion. Drapion farming up a ton of energy, looking to pick up a knockout with a Crunch. Can Walrein withstand the damage? No, it cannot. Back in comes the Stunfisk. I still have 2 shields to hide behind, and I am going to use the first here. I will have to watch for a potential catch from my opponents, and they do not go for it. So thankfully, I will get to land this damage. Mud Bomb plus the Thunder Shock will pick up the KO. In comes the Drifblim. Drifblim able to make one final charge attack, and I decide I'm letting LOKIX close out the game. In the back, opponent has Galarian Moltres, so my Sucker Punches are resisted. So this could be a little bit scary, but LOKIX hits hard. X-Scissor lands, and I immediately know that barring an Ancient Power boost, this game is a win. They go for the Ancient Power. They do not get the boost, and we're going to take a pretty comfortable victory, as back-to-back X-Scissors are going to be enough to pick up the KO, and Drifblim just doesn't have the health needed to make a move. Stunfisk versus Malamar. I learned after the fact that this is actually a matchup that Stunfisk can win in the zeros. So I don't necessarily have to pivot out of that. But in the moment, I didn't know that, so I ended up pivoting out into the LOKIX. They respond with a Tentacruel, and believe me when I say this is not a response to LOKIX. They're going to go for a Scald, fishing for that 30% debuff chance, and they do not get it. And now LOKIX gets to farm up so much energy and fire off the Trailblaze on the CMP tie. Trailblaze at the Tentacruel is going to be shielded, so they are really looking to get shields down. But I'm more than happy just to keep this as healthy as I possibly can. In comes the Malamar, and Malamar is going to have to shield. This is a double boosted, double super effective move, and they are going to fire off a move to KO the LOKIX. So I did get some pretty nice value out of the LOKIX. Foul Play does not knock out. I'm going to send in the Wall Rain, and Wall Rain is going to look to farm up as much energy as possible, trying to make it to the Earthquake, but Malamar is going to strike first. Malamar, they're on Hyper Beam. What? Oh, the Spice moveset from the opponent. I respond with the Earthquake. That does not knock out. It's going to be Galarian Moltres, and Moltres is unable to get the farm down. Icicle Spear, super effective damage, but this is the Ultra League. Moltres able to tank that pretty comfortably, but Moltres' biggest issue is the fact that its energy is completely walled here. They go for the Brave Bird, and it just does not matter. Stunfisk gets the farm all the way down. That poor Moltres, and the opponent will concede the match. Stunfisk into Shadow for Alligator. Stunfisk, if you double bait, can actually win the 2s without tanking a charge attack. You're able to win the 2s regardless, but obviously keeping yourself healthy would be very, very nice as the Stunfisk for future matchups. So I'm going to farm up quite a bit, and I decide to not go for the bait. I'm just going to full send the discharge and see what they want to do. They are going to commit the shield. It's highly likely that they try and cap tie me, so I may as well get a catch onto the Wall Rain. Wall Rain, more than happy to tank a move. Opponent sends in Annihilate, and that actually works out very nicely for me. They did not rebank energy on their Feraligatr, so the Feraligatr is dry. They go for a Rage Fist. It does not knock out, and I even get an Earthquake. Earthquake's not what it used to be, but I'm only getting to one move, so it's still going to be the move to go for. I'll go for the Discharge on the Stunfisk, as it will do ever so slightly more damage. Discharge does not knock out. That is unfortunate. Annihilate able to hang on and fire off the boosted Rage Fist. The Thundershock after did pick up the KO. In comes Feraligatr, but Feraligatr didn't rebank any energy, so they're dry, so I can throw 4 and the Discharge. Discharge picks up the KO. In the back is Registeel, and poor Registeel. Stunfisk is about to have an absolute field day. Already at the back-to-back Mud Bombs. The first is going to connect, and I just fire off the next one right away. I want to guarantee this damage or the final shield. Opponent does decide to shield here. They can never farm down. They're forced to throw, and I can just save the shield for LOKIX and have a pretty comfortable win. Focus Blast KOs, but I have LOKIX up a shield, and they've already taken 1 Mud Bomb. So I can no-shield this. This will never KO me. They're going to go for the Zap Cannon. Oh, they actually don't go for the Zap Cannon. Realistically, even a Zap Cannon debuff does not save them here, so I get going for the slightly cheaper move, but regardless, they're going to need 3 charge attacks, and with LOKIX's pacing, that's just something that's never going to happen. So I already landed Trailblaze number 1, now we get to go for Trailblaze number 2, and LOKIX will take the win. We're off to a terrible start in the next match, leading into a Mudslap Shadow Donphan. I'm going to save switch into Wall Rain. Opponent is going to respond with Clefable. Clefable farming up a lot of energy. I try and throw before they make the Moonblast, but they throw on 6. And 6 means this is a Meteor Mash. Double Meteor Mash will KO. I was a little bit surprised to see it because most of the Clefables that I see are on Moonblast plus Swift. So we do actually have a Meteor Mash sighting, and now I'm really hoping I can sneak this Earthquake past the shield and pick up the knockout, but Clefable is too bulky, and I really need switch advantage, so I will be shielding here. I cannot afford whatsoever to have this Donphan run away with the game. They bring in the Donphan, and I actually aggressively pivot into the LOKIX because I did not want to give the Donphan energy. Donphan is going to throw on alignment here, going for the Body Slam, and I am just going to let this through. LOKIX now very low, but going to fire off the Trailblaze. It's all going to come down to what they have in the back. Donphan is going to get KO'd. They have Mandibuzz, and the third Pokemon being a flyer is unbelievably good news for me. Boosted X-Scissor is going to connect, and now I just get to send in the Stunfisk, and Stunfisk is going to do amazingly here. I also still have a little bit of Wall Rain left, since I did not concede the farm down. So my opponent is going to try and play it out, but realistically, there is no path forward for them in this game. Discharge after discharge are going to be launched at this very bulky bird. Mandibuzz returning fire with the Dark Pulses, desperately trying to do enough damage. But this is a war of attrition that Mandibuzz cannot possibly hope to win. That discharge is going to be shielded. Farming up with the Stunfisk. Another discharge is reached. If they're staying in, I may as well go for a quick switch into the wall rain so we can preserve the 3-ball flex and the opponent will concede the match. Great lead and a great counter swap in the next match, leading Stunfisk into Wheezing. They save switch for Alligator, and that is not a response. They're going to farm up a lot with the Feraligatr, but being down even 1 turn in this matchup turns it from a matchup where Feraligatr can land a Hydro Cannon unless we see a double bait from the Stunfisk into a matchup where Feraligatr is never ever landing a move. So Feraligatr is going to farm up and they actually CMP tie. Feraligatr is at the back-to-back, but they're not going to get to throw it here because it's a CMP tie. So I get to pick up the knockout. I'm still very, very healthy on the Stunfisk, and Feraligatr didn't really get to gain any ground. Opponent now going to send out Annihilate. I'll farm up and then throw after 7 Thundershocks, throwing a Mud Bomb right before they can make a potential close combat. I do get to another Mud Bomb. Unfortunately, I accidentally overtap there, and in doing so, I actually lose this energy as close combat will knock out. Now I get to bring in LOKIX. LOKIX is going to take significant neutral damage from close combat, but once their defense is at -4, they will be switching out, and I can just look to send in the Wall Rain. Wall Rain, I was even queuing the switch before I saw them visually switch out because I knew at that point, realistically, they can't afford to stay in with a -4 Annihilate. So now I get to farm up a lot with the Wall Rain and look to connect with a super effective Earthquake. Earthquake into the Wheezing, plus the farm down, and they can bring back in the Annihilate, but I have the Icicle Spear ready to go, so they will concede the match. We see an absolutely awful lead in the next match, leading Stunfisk into Zygarde. I save switch into LOKIX, and I'm instantly reminded why I never am supposed to save switch LOKIX. I did this because Wall Rain is the hard counter to the Zygarde, so I wanted to preserve it for the end game, but unfortunately LOKIX can't do anything here. If I had Dark Pulse, I could actually flip switch if my opponent tried to farm down, but unfortunately I do not. I'm unable to flip switch, and odds are my Wall Rain is probably not going to be able to sweep in the end game. They're going to go for a Flame Charge, and now they get to fire off a boosted move at the Stunfisk. It's going to be a boosted Flame Charge. I get the farm down, and I really need Wall Rain to be able to sweep. Wall Rain hits the field. It's a Sand Slash in the back, and this is actually a Shadow Claw Sand Slash, which is quite a bit worse for me than if it was Powder Snow. I think that an Earthquake doesn't even knock out here, so I'm gonna try for a double bait, because realistically, I think that's probably my only path forward in this game. But I looked back at the sims after the fact, and I'm pretty confident that an Earthquake doesn't even KO Sand Slash, because Sand Slash is quite bulky in the Ultra League. I'm going to go for bait number 2. My opponent calls it because an Earthquake wouldn't KO. That saves us quite a bit of time, and I will concede the match. We move to the next game, and what a terrible lead leading into Guzzlord. I am ABA weak to the Guzzlord. I'm going to have to stay in this matchup to start, but being a Thundershock user against Dragon type, this is an uphill battle. Mud Bomb is going to connect. I'm going to throw 1, switch into Wall Rain, and get a catch any sneak of a Powder Snow. That may not look like a lot of damage, but I need all the help I can get in this match. Here, my opponent does not switch out. That is a massive surprise. I get to fire off an Icicle Spear, grab a shield from my opponent, and now they're going to pivot out into Talonflame. My guess is they probably just didn't realize that I snuck when I caught, so they thought that they could safely do 3 in the move, but I was able to catch them off guard there, and now grabbing a shield, I will absolutely take a shield advantage. Now I get to bring back in the Stunfisk, throw 4 Thundershocks, and the move. Not only will he second Incinerate not register, but on top of that, I don't have to take any charge move damage. They're going to bring back in the Guzzlord, but look at the amount of damage the Guzzlord has taken already. This started off as a very negative lead, but suddenly it feels like the tides are turning. I'm 1 off back-to-back Mud Bombs, so I go for Mud Bomb number 1 into the Guzzlord. Guzzlord is going to let that through, but I already have another charge move loaded up and ready to go. If they want to keep the Guzzlord, they're going to have the shield. I'm going to switch into LOKIX. LOKIX, I'm going to no shield. I am 100% letting this move through. They go for the Dragon Claw. In the back, they have Drapion, but this is the non-Shadow Drapion, and that's actually way worse for me. If it was the Shadow, 2 X Scissors plus Sucker Punches would actually knock out. But it's the non-Shadow Drapion, and in this one instance, it's actually very beneficial to my opponent, because I cannot KO this Pokemon. Drapion is going to withstand the double X Scissor. Sucker Punches add up though, and that will force them to throw. So I can't knock them out with fast moves, but I can force them to throw. And now I'm going to shield up on the Stunfisk. and I just need to make a move versus this Guzzlord. Guzzlord, stored energy. It's going to fire off the Dragon Claw. I'm going to do 2 Thunder Shocks and the move because since this Mud Bomb KOs the second Dragon Tail that sneaks, the damage won't register. It's going to be a race endgame, and Drapion does not get the move. Stunfisk farms down, and we clutch the win. Hopping to the final match, Stunfisk versus Shadow Drapion. And this, I'm very fine playing this out because it's something that I do want to keep away from the LOKIX. I did mention earlier, there are some problem Pokemon for this team, including Virizion. I did have a few matches where I queued into Virizion, and I pretty much just top-lefted right off the start. For the first few, I did actually try and play it out, as for the second time this video, my opponent catches a Mud Bomb onto Drifblim. That is so unfortunate, oh my goodness. I'm getting outplayed here. I try for the Icy Wind catch. My opponent actually does not fall for it either. And despite the fact that I've core broken them with a Stunfisk, things are feeling a bit uncomfortable. Thankfully, Shadow Ball, not the cheapest charge move ever, so I'm able to outpace, fire off the Icicle Spear, but it does not knock out. Drifblim barely hangs on. Drifblim, thankfully, just went for the Icy Wind, and now they're going to send in Primeape. Primeape, a very scary Pokemon. Icicle Spear is debuffed, so it's not going to do a lot of damage. Switch clocks up, and I switch back into the Stunfisk. I need to ratchet up the pressure on this Primeape and apply some damage or strip away its shields. They are going to go for the Rage Fist, and shielding a Rage Fist is never a great feeling. I'm going to fire off a Mud Bomb in retaliation. Mud Bomb on the Primeape. We will see the final shield used, and I will be shielding up the Stunfisk. Switch Clock will be available for my opponent, and there it is. They switch into the Drapion, go for the combo play. Crunch is going to pick up the KO. And now I send in LOKIX. LOKIX, I overfarm, and I get the prediction correct. We get the catch of a Sludge Bomb onto the Walrein. They end up going for an undercharge. LOKIX is going to get the farm down. They don't get their Sludge Bomb. In comes the Primeape. And with all that energy on the LOKIX, there's nothing left to do but resign the match. This team I did have quite a bit of fun with. I did end up going positive across the overall battles that I ran with it, but it's absolutely not a team that I recommend for climbing. I think LOKIX is a really interesting anti-meta Pokemon, but to use it more effectively, it would probably need more meta teammates. I do want to experiment with a few other LOKIX team comps because I do feel like it has quite a bit of potential in the current Open Ultra League meta. Being able to absolutely obliterate Mud Slappers is a definite plus for LOKIX, and on top of that, its unique coverage of Dark, Bug, and Grass can really catch some teams off guard, and so it's not really a type combination that people think of when it comes to team building. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.